2 weeks later, the Evergreen HOA was officially dissolved by court order. Every false lien, every bogus fine, every community violation they'd ever issued was wiped clean from county records. For the first time in years, families in that neighborhood could breathe again. No threats, no harassment, no envelopes marked "Final Notice." Karen and the remaining board members faced sentencing that morning. The courtroom was quiet this time. No shouting, no cameras, just the weight of consequence hanging in the air. I sat at the bench, calm but firm. Karen wouldn't look at me. Her lawyer stood to speak about her dedication to the community, but even he sounded unconvinced. When it was my turn, I didn't need notes. "Miss Holt," I said evenly, "you claim to protect your neighborhood, but you weaponize rules against the very people you are meant to serve. You forged authority, intimidated citizens, and used fear as currency. This court cannot overlook that." She wiped a tear from her cheek. "I was just trying to keep order," she whispered. I nodded once. Order built on lies is still chaos. Then I read the sentence. 5 years for fraud, 2 for obstruction, served concurrently. A murmur rippled through the room, part relief, part closure. Afterwards, a line of residents waited outside. One by one, they shook my hand. "You saved our homes," an elderly man said, eyes wet. "She had us scared to live here." I smiled faintly. "You saved them yourselves. You spoke up." That evening, as the sun dipped over the neighborhood, I walked past the old HOA office, now boarded up, the fake gold plaque gone. Kids played on the sidewalk, laughter echoing off the houses that had once felt like prisons. My wife met me at the gate, smiling softly. "So, judge and hero now?" she teased. I laughed. "Just a man who hates bullies." I looked around at the quiet street, the American flag fluttering from a porch nearby, and felt something simple but powerful: peace. For years, people like Karen had used fear to control others, but when the law finally stepped in, not for power, but for truth, it set them free. And as I locked my gate for the night, I couldn't help but think, justice doesn't always wear a badge. Sometimes it wears a robe.
The courtroom was packed that morning. Neighbors, reporters, even former HOA members filled every bench. The air felt thick, like everyone could sense something big was about to happen. Karen sat at the defense table, her hair perfectly done, but her hands trembling against the table. Her attorney leaned close, whispering, but she kept darting glances at me like she still couldn't believe I was the one presiding. Case 22419, County of Brooksville versus Karen Holt and the Evergreen HOA Board, the bailiff announced. Karen's lawyer jumped up first. "Your Honor, we motion to dismiss on the grounds of conflict of interest. You, being a homeowner in the same district, cannot fairly adjudicate this case." I folded my hands. Motion noted and denied. This court is operating under special appointment from the state, confirmed by the Chief Justice. I have jurisdiction. Karen's face drained of color. The prosecution began playing the footage, the video of her shredding papers, the emails, the ledgers with missing funds. Every piece landed like a hammer. But when it came to the part where she ordered HOA fines under false legal claims, she snapped. "This isn't fraud," she shouted, slamming her hand on the table. "We were protecting our community. We had standards." I looked at her for a long moment. By forging documents? By threatening families? By impersonating government officers? She opened her mouth, but the words stuck. The prosecutor flipped to the next page of evidence, a ledger listing fake fines charged to veterans, retirees, and single parents, and you pocketed every dollar. The money never reached community accounts. The courtroom went dead silent. Then a murmur spread. Shock, disgust, betrayal. Karen's eyes filled with panic. "I didn't do this alone," she blurted. "The board told me to. They all knew." One of the other board members jumped up, shouting, "That's a lie!" And just like that, the entire HOA turned on itself, yelling across the room while deputies moved in to restore order. I struck the gavel. "Enough! This court will not tolerate chaos." Everyone went quiet. I leaned forward. You claim you are protecting the neighborhood, but what you really protected was your control. The law doesn't exist to serve egos. It exists to protect rights. You forgot that. Her lawyer tried one last objection, but I cut him off. Save it. The evidence speaks louder than excuses. The crowd watched as I signed the final line of the order, charging the entire HOA board with fraud, extortion, and obstruction. Karen slumped back, whispering, "You ruined me." I looked her dead in the eyes. "No, Karen, you ruined everyone else first."
The next morning, I walked into the county courthouse like any other day, but this time I had a file under my arm labeled HOA Board versus Residents. Inside were dozens of complaints the HOA had buried for years: illegal fines, false citations, even one report of a family threatened with eviction over unapproved mailbox color. Each one was signed, ignored, and quietly dismissed by a legal consultant the HOA used to stall people. That consultant? A disbarred attorney. By noon, I'd confirmed what I suspected. The HOA wasn't just corrupt, it was operating outside every legal boundary imaginable. They'd been charging court processing fees on violations that never reached court, pocketing the money under a maintenance account no one outside the board could access. I called in my clerk, Sandra, and handed her the folder. "File this under property fraud," I said, "and make sure the district attorney gets a copy." Her eyebrows lifted. "You're going after them yourself?" I nodded slowly. "They came after me on my own land. Now it's personal." That afternoon, Karen must have caught wind of what was coming, because she showed up at my office with 2 board members and a forced smile. "Judge Rowe, this is all a misunderstanding. We'd love to clear it up privately, maybe over coffee." "Privately?" I repeated. "No, ma'am. We'll do this in open court, where the truth belongs." Her expression cracked. You wouldn't bring this to trial. It's a community matter." "Not anymore," I said. "It's criminal." She leaned forward, voice dropping. "You're making a mistake, Judge. We have friends in the county, people who can make this disappear." I stood up, staring her dead in the eyes. "So do I. Difference is, mine wear badges and follow the law." For the first time, she looked afraid. She turned to leave, muttering about lawyers and miscommunication, but I could see the tremor in her hand as she grabbed the doorknob. That evening, my phone buzzed. A private message from a local resident. It was a video. Karen and another board member shredding HOA documents in her garage. The timestamp, just an hour earlier. I saved it, forwarded it to the sheriff, and said only one line. "They just destroyed evidence. Issue the warrant." The trap was set. By morning, the calm suburban street looked like a scene out of a crime drama. Sheriff patrol cars lined the HOA office parking lot, lights flashing as deputies carried out box after box of seized records. Karen stood by her car, trembling with rage and fear, demanding to see a warrant, until the sheriff handed it to her, with my signature at the bottom. She went pale. You signed this?" she whispered. I nodded. "As the presiding judge for this district, yes. You might want to read the charge line: racketeering, fraud, and destruction of evidence." Her lips parted, but no sound came out. The other board members weren't much better. One tried to slip away toward his SUV, only to be stopped by a deputy. Inside the office, investigators found falsified ledgers, shredded checks, and a private ledger showing tens of thousands of dollars collected in community violations with no record of where it went. The sheriff called me later from the scene. "Judge, you won't believe this. They had a safe full of cash, HOA letterheads, and fake city seals. They've been running this place like a personal ATM." I sighed. "How long?" "Looks like at least 7 years, and they've been intimidating homeowners the whole time." I leaned back in my chair, rubbing my temples. This was worse than I thought. Karen had played the part of a controlling neighbor, but behind that smile was full-blown, organized fraud. By evening, the story broke on the local news. HOA leaders under investigation for fraud and extortion. Signed warrants issued by county judge. Reporters gathered at the courthouse the next morning, but I stayed focused. My clerk handed me a folder with a quiet grin. Thought you'd want to see this. It's an HOA email thread. They were planning to file an injunction against you to block the investigation. I flipped through the printout, and there it was, Karen's name bold in every thread. She had written, "We can't let him embarrass us in court. I'll find a way to make him look corrupt." I felt a slow smile form. Then she's going to love Discovery Day. Because that email, combined with the shredded documents, was enough to prove intent. I knew exactly what to do next. I scheduled an emergency hearing.
It started with flashing lights and confusion. 2 HOA board members stood at the edge of my driveway, arms crossed, faces twisted in smug satisfaction. A county deputy pulled up moments later, lights spitting against the oak trees. One of the board members, a sharp-tongued woman named Karen, pointed right at me. "That's him, officer. He's trespassing on restricted HOA property." I froze mid-step, holding my grocery bags. "Restricted?" I said, trying not to laugh. "This is my house." Karen smirked. "Not according to the HOA charter. He bought it in foreclosure without board approval. He doesn't belong here." The deputy looked uncertain. "Sir, I just need to confirm ownership. If you can show proof—" Karen cut him off. "Don't waste your time. We already filed a complaint with the county clerk." My hands tightened around the grocery bag. I'd seen this play before. Neighbors trying to intimidate new homeowners with false authority. Only this time, they had no idea who they were dealing with. I calmly set the bags down, unlocked my phone, and pulled up the property deed. "Here," I said, handing it over. "Purchased legally, recorded last month, county seals right there." Karen's smirk faltered, but she wasn't done. "That land's under HOA jurisdiction. We can have him removed. He's violating community standards." The deputy sighed. "Ma'am, I'll check, but—" "Please do," I interrupted. "And when you're done, let the HOA know they've just interfered with a judicial officer." Karen blinked. "A what?" I met her stare. "A sitting judge, ma'am. County's circuit court. Which means, technically, you just tried to have a judge arrested on his own property." Her mouth dropped open. The deputy's radio crackled, breaking the silence. "Copy that. Confirming ownership under name Judge Michael Rowe." Karen's face turned white. "Judge?" she stammered. You can't be serious." "Oh, I'm very serious. And you just gave me a front-row look at your HOA's abuse of power." The deputy gave me a respectful nod. "Sir, looks like there's no issue here. Sorry for the confusion." Karen started to backpedal, mumbling about clerical errors and misunderstandings, but the damage was done. I'd seen enough. Inside, as the patrol car pulled away, I poured a glass of water and sat by the window. My wife raised an eyebrow. "They really tried to have you arrested?" I smiled faintly. "Yeah, but they don't know yet. I'm the one who signs the warrants around here." And in that moment, I decided this wasn't just about property anymore. It was about accountability.